Welcome to Feisty Chess. I've got black against Narmandak Kuvzgul. We're going to play knight f6 against d4. We're going to try and see if we can get to King's Indian today. It's been a long time since I've done this. Okay. See if the main line is played. We need to play d6 to put up some resistance against e5. Ooh, the 4 pawns attack. I assume that's what this is called. That's what it's called in the Pirtz and the Alekhine defense, but here I'm not sure about its reputation. But anyway, that's quite an imposing sight to behold. Let's just continue with our plan and see what happens. Maybe we needed to play c5 there. Looks like e5 is kind of ruled out here. No, it's not. He hasn't played knight f3 yet. Hmm. Let's get our knight developed. Usually wants to come to d7. Okay. Yeah, the other knight maybe wanted to use d7. Okay. I don't know my King's Indian theory all that well. I know the idea is it's a I'm going to have to play knight to e8. The question is, do I want to trade or not? I think not, at least not immediately. Let's put the knight on e8. Then we'll undermine from the side with c5. I suppose I'm allowing d5 here. No, I've got enough covering e5. I've got enough attackers on e5 that d5 would just drop that pawn. And so does that, actually. I can... Oh, this knight is going to be pinned. My queen needs a protector. Well, our pawn is pinned until we play something like knight c7 here, so... But we gotta take this pawn, or we're losing more pawns. b4 is one try, aggressive try by white here. Bishop e3 makes sense. I'm planning knight c7 next move, though. Or maybe I get my queen out. I don't see anywhere she can go that's not going to get harassed by that knight. Knight to d5, for instance. I see a tricky little trap. I mean, if he wants to play knight to d5, a move that makes some sense here, I can take. And then if he tries to win my queen with this discovered attack with a check, I take with the knight and I'm all guarded. Okay, my plan was and is this. And now I'm actually threatening to win a pawn on e5. No, I'm not. Not yet. But I'm threatening to make some exchanges. Doesn't sound all that threatening, does it? Bishop f5 might be an idea. Probably not a good one. The bishop usually wants to stay put on c8 in these King's Indian games. A lot of times the first move it makes is a sacrifice, say on h3, or it stays for a long time on c8. So I might bring my knight back to d7 just to put more pressure on e5. Okay. All right, I don't mind this. Okay, I'm playing King's Indian here. Let's take with the pawn. Any reason not to? Let's finally. I've done a lot of queen trades in the last few games I've played, so let's finally opt for keeping the queens on the board. I do feel like my results are better when I keep the queens off, but that's not the kind of feistiness I want to cultivate in my own chess play. Okay, now we got an e6 square that's available for a knight. We do have this pawn weakness, and another reason I didn't want to take the queen, like queen takes, is once he takes the queens off, he gets a rook on d1, and well, he'll get a rook on d1 anyway, but that happens quicker if we take the queens off. And that weakness is more strongly felt in an ending. All right, he's giving me a tempo to play this. So I'll gladly do that. I was talking about leaving that bishop b earlier, but I want to be able to activate my queen side. This is not your typical King's Indian game. It's gone a very different route. I could think about knight to e4 next. Or I could think about bishop takes on c3, but that's usually a mistake with your King's Indian bishop. Getting that knight off the diagonal, I can force that knight off the diagonal though. Force an exchange here. Get my bishop on a better diagonal. This improves both my bishops. I'm going to pre-move this capture he has to take. Now my bishops are looking very strong. Look at him scraping down the board, and he has a really hard time developing his queen side. He is going to be able to put pressure on my pawn, but what's this move about? Oh, he's hitting my bishop. I think bishop c6 looks good. That knight, I should be able to kick it soon. And I got d5, getting rid of that weakness, or at least strengthening it, because I got d5 covered plenty of times. So if rook to d1, for example, d5 saves the pawn and maybe eliminates that as a weakness, trading it for the c4 pawn. Okay. Let's go for h6. Kick that knight back. Or maybe our bishop can go straight back here. Hitting this rook. Maybe first I bring this knight here. This limits his pieces. This actually makes, yeah, this makes bishop e4 a stronger threat. Because, well, no, it doesn't really. It's improving the knight. It's improving the knight anyway. And restricting his knight from playing to d4. Okay. My knight looks pretty good on... Ooh. Well, let's just keep the knight. Yeah, we'll put it here. Maybe we'll get the bishop pair. Now knight to e4 is an idea. Where's it going? Once, say, queen to e3. Let's get a rook in the game. And then maybe knight e4 makes more sense. Especially makes sense now. Ooh. Is he going to be able to kick that away? Ooh, no, I can land it on c3 maybe? We'll see where this takes us. That's not a good way to make your chess decisions, folks. But I'm trying to conserve my time here. I have a real tendency, as you might know if you watch the channel, to just blow all my time in the first 20 moves. So I like the looks of this knight here. I'm a little concerned about his flexibility, but I've got a tempo. The queen has to move or he has to trade. And we're going to take with the bishop if there is a trade. So we're going to pre-move that. Again, time. Looks like white's finally going to be able to challenge my bishop with bishop to b2 at some point here. But he might need to give me the light square bishop first. Yeah, queen e3. Putting that queen on the e file doesn't look good now. Queen d3, I wonder if there's any problems with that. I do have a check on b6 that I just now notice. Queen b6 check. Oh yeah, let's throw that in. He has bishop e3. Okay, that doesn't seem worthwhile because of bishop e3. Oh, hold on. He's got this threat that I was worried about earlier. The threat is b5. The threat is b5. So if I make a move like queen c7, I'm just going to lose a piece to b5. Unless I have some flashy tactics. I don't think I do. So this knight needs some support, I think. I'm hesitating to play f5 because of how that opens up checking possibilities. Oh, you know what? No, b5 is not a threat on my knight. Knight c5 solves those problems because b5 would open up the c5 square, and I'm hitting the queen with tempo. So yeah, let's get the queen here in the interest of getting another piece in the game. Okay, there it is. And here we have this little tactic. So you're not getting our knight, and our knight actually has a nice comfortable spot for itself on c5 now. And the bishop, I might trade that bishop off for the f3 knight. I might go to d7 with it. I might be able to play, yeah, I think bishop e4 makes a lot of sense. And then we will be trading light square bishops. And my knight will be quite happy on e4. And now white has a weakness as well. So I've got this weakness, but it's no less weak than c4. Because there's no pawn that can defend it. So, his c4 pawn is not technically isolated. Let's go with this. Not technically isolated, but ooh, and I'm hitting c4 after the exchange here. Do I want to take with the rook? It can be chased away with like knight d2. And that guards. Let's take with knight. Now we've got some initiative. I do have 2 checks on b6 and c5. All right, let's just put some pressure on that c-pawn, and if he tries to play like rook b4, then we're winning a piece with that check on c5. Bishop to e3 might make sense here. Going after my a-pawn. I might just ditch that a-pawn to grab the c4 weakness. I think I'm more active than white. Oh, he falls into this. Okay, there we go. That'll net us a rook. Our queen might be a little uncomfortable if he block. Well, he can't block with the bishop. If he blocks with the bishop, probably I'll just grab the bishop. Because that rook looks a little silly on b4. Okay. Okay, came down to a tactic. So many of these games just come down to a tactic. I think I can just take. That seems needlessly complicated. No, our knight. Oh, the queen might want to be there. Oh, what do we take with the rook? It pins the knight, but it hits the queen. Let's just crash through here. That just has to be right. The knight's not really pinned. It can drop back to f6 and protect the rook on e8. Narmandak Kuvsgul. And now d5 is an option to solidify that knight on e4. Well, that pawn is guarded. Oh, there's a fork. This gives up the rook, but that will be worth it because I'm gaining a queen. Okay. Thanks for the game, Narmandak Kuzgul. Let's look at the analysis board. Okay, King's Indian worked out well. Let me see if I can figure out what this attack is called in the King's Indian. Probably 4 pawns attack. Whenever you play these hypermodern defenses that don't put anything on the 4th rank and allow white to do that, it's usually not a bad try. Yeah, King's Indian 4 pawns attack. White has decent results with this. Are we looking at the Masters database here? No, we're just looking at Lichess. On the Masters, I think White might not have such great results. Okay, still in White's favor, for sure. Did I get the main moves here? Yeah, simple castling. Yeah, this wasn't played too often. Let's see what the computer thinks about knight f to d7. I think that was a mistake. Yeah. I think White should have tried to hold on to a formation with a pawn on e5, so my knight on e8 looks kind of useless, kind of silly. I should have gone for c5 immediately, challenge that center, try to undermine it where I can. I wonder if e5 is still an option. Looks like some masters have played this. How do these games go? F takes, D takes, d5. Not this. Because, what's the move here? Queen takes, bishop takes. Yeah, we're just going to pick up the pawn because we've got 2 attackers on it. Okay. e5 was possible. That's more in keeping with the the themes of the King's Indian that I know. You build up, this pawn goes to e5, and then you maybe drop this knight back and then try to push f5. And your knights can kind of reorganize over here. You end up bringing a rook into it. And everything goes towards the king's side, assuming White's castled over there. And you get these fantastic mating attacks in the King's Indian defense. So it's an opening I want to play more. It's very feisty. And it accepts a lot of risk because you're giving White a lot of space. And this is the big example of White taking a lot of space, maybe too much space with all 4 of those pawns. Let's go back to the, not the top choice, the 5th choice here. I mean, the main lines are bishop e2 and knight to f3. Those could transpose. f3 is the same-ish variation. h3 is a popular variation, I know. But the 4 pawns comes in behind all those. Okay. Yeah, bringing that knight to d7 was not the best plan. Knight c6. Huh. Knight c6 wouldn't be all that great either. Knight a6 is another idea. Preparing c5 further, but okay. I think I played c5 at this point. I needed to. Well, it does like d takes e5. It doesn't like. No, they're about equal. Okay, I think White saw a chance. When I moved that knight away from e8, he saw a chance to make a weakness in Black's camp. That d6 pawn. And if I take the queen, if I take with the queen, he'll probably trade those queens, and then I'll have this weakness in an endgame. And the queen won the game for me, so I'm glad I kept the queens on the board. Queen c7's an error, I think. He just runs into this, and he's going to move the queen again. Should maybe bring out the bishop first, bishop to e3. Getting it on that diagonal with the king. It's a good way to prevent those kind of forks on that diagonal. Now his queen is probably better back on d1, honestly, so the bishop can get out. The queen just sits in the way of the development. Knight g4, knight g5 is a good move. I thought I could just plant my bishop here. I didn't like bringing the bishop back to f5 because g4. White looks kind of airy, but I think white's the one on the attack here. And I got to bring my bishop back to probably c8. d7, just give up the pawn, it says. That's not a good sign. Okay, it likes black now. Interestingly, despite this isolated pawn as a weakness, it still likes black. I guess this bishop is just the piece of the weak here. Knight c5. And white's just kind of been shuffling pieces, and I've been able to improve some of my pieces. My king's bishop and my knight certainly look good. Actually, both my bishops look very good. So here come the majors. He really likes white after this. Now this bishop is looking at the whole board. I thought this was a good move, actually, to get to expedite this bishop to b2, so we could trade off that dark square bishop. In a King's Indian defense, that's a huge piece. It's often worth a rook to trade that baby off. Yeah, and if he were to take with the bishop here, that would... Well, he does have b3 for his rook now. But computer doesn't like that. Computer usually doesn't like giving up the bishop pair. Well, it doesn't like this move. I was just trying to get my rooks in the game. What does it recommend? Knight to c3. Oh, right. After rook to b... Oh, I've got a check on e2. Okay. Knight to c3, rook to b3. Knight takes a2. Just getting greedy. Really, let's look at this. Computer wants me to grab this pawn. Can't go here, because then I'll check and win the exchange. Although that might not be. That might be dangerous, giving him a dark square bishop on that diagonal for that rook. Oh, first I go knight takes c1. Sure. Ooh, and then I'm winning a whole piece. I'm winning a whole rook. Oh, wow. Yeah. So anyway, that's not the right move. Knight here, rook here, and taking on a2. That knight looks kind of stranded. I would think after bishop b2. What's the plan with that knight? Oh, let's check. And then after king h1, and taking here, now you've got knight takes b4. And this knight can never be attacked by a pawn, and it can be supported by my a pawn. So I grabbed up 2 pawns. But yeah, I would have probably just looked, if I'd looked at this, I would have looked at it right here and thought, ugh. There's no way I'm saving that knight, right? Like, what about bishop a3? b5? Is that threatening anything? Oh, you can't go rook a8. It's tricky to attack that knight thanks to that monster bishop. But wait, how tricky? What about this? Queen b6 check again. What am I missing here? Am I just giving up the knight and the bishop for a rook on c3? Rook f2. Bishop b5. Ah, that's why he needed to play rook f2. Well, that's a lot of tactics involving b5 and b takes c4 here. Now queen to c2. rook to e2. Oh, that's fantastic. We're going to be protecting that knight with a rook. Wow. Some real coordination there. All right, well, I missed all that. I'll wrap up here. Low battery. I was glad to find this little saving tactic. That's what enabled me to play queen d2, queen c2, c7. Okay, we traded these bishops off. And now, yeah, losing to the fork, watching out for those checks. That's why it's important I didn't play queen to b6 check earlier. This is a really important theme in so many chess games. Any time it's relatively tactical, you have chances for forcing moves. It's important, especially checks. Don't make those forcing moves. Don't make those checks at the first opportunity, because those checks are always available in the position and they give your pieces more power. So this queen right now defends this and has this check in reserve, right? So instead of like playing queen check right here, and then the king moving over, my queen does fewer things. But when those checks are available, my pieces are more powerful, and keeping that energy in the position allows you for tactics to come up like that. So that's an important positional lesson to make tactics possible, actually. So yeah, and white just kind of fell apart at the end there, as we've all been through so many times. All right, I got to sign off. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay feisty.